My name is Richard Sapp. I am the DIY Realtor. Today we are hanging rails on fence posts. In my first video about setting your posts, I made a comment regarding measuring from the ground up. And what's important about that is this is where the bottom railings are going to go, roughly 9.5 inches from the bottom. So after you've poured your concrete, it's important to prep the ground so that when you do your measurements, they all come out equal. Otherwise, even if your terrain is flat, they're not going to come out equal because you might be 2 or 3 inches off on either post. So it's important to prep the ground before you start measuring. Now we are measuring 5 feet 8 inches from the top, and we are measuring 9.5 inches from the bottom. This is where your top and bottom railings are going to go. And after you've made your mark, you're going to place the 2x4 below that line. In the event that you are on a sloped terrain, that's just fine. What's going to be important is that you keep your measurements the same from the ground up. If your railings need to travel or traverse the slope of your ground, that's perfect. We'll just want to make sure that they're doing so evenly and you don't have one that's sloped at a 20-degree angle and another railing that's sloped at a 40-degree angle. Obviously, that's not going to be symmetrical and it's not going to be correct. So what we're doing here is setting the first railings. I'm placing a screw at the bottom somewhere about 4.5 inches beneath my line so that I can place these 2x4s on the posts without needing some help. These posts again are 8 feet apart, 8 feet to center, and that's so that on either side I have about 2 inches to screw in the railings. Now on the left here you can see by the shed, it extends over about a foot. The posts are still 8 feet to center, but this railing I think is about 110, 111 inches. And that's because I couldn't set my post any further back. This is just an example of how off I am on putting that screw in. It doesn't matter because you're just putting it up there to hold the railing, and then you can adjust it accordingly to match the railing to match the railing right next to it. So again, back to I could not set that post any further back because there is so many bamboo roots back there, and it doesn't really matter if your posts are level, if your stringers or your rails are level, because as long as they're again following the slope of the terrain, you may have some variance. This part of my terrain is flat, so I just wanted the railings to be level for some symmetry purposes and to look nice, even though I'm taking the good neighbor side. I already talked to my neighbor about it. He was perfectly fine with it. But for the middle railing, what we're going to be doing is measuring half of the distance between that top and the bottom railing, and this is about 27.5 inches if I recall. 55 inches total. The middle is 27.5. So I just screwed in one screw on that one side and raised the railing until I got it level, screwed it in on the other side. And now it's just a matter of rinse and repeat. We're going to be doing the same thing. You're going to start the new rail where the former rail began and just making sure that they are evenly spaced apart. So if you're doing this on a slope, as long as you've measured 9.5 inches from the bottom and then 5 foot 8 inches from the top or to the top via a 6 foot post, then you're not going to have any issues with whatever terrain or however it slopes. And this is the final product. You can see the ends on this side also have your railings, my railings, extending a little bit beyond the post. That's because that cement wall there has a footer underneath it that runs about 8 inches, 12 inches out, and I couldn't dig the post any deeper. But that's it. We've got a nice, even rail system that's ready for its pickets.